Hi there, everyone. This is Adam here for another community awareness podcast. I'm here with Ethan, with Sue Ryder.
Hi there, Adam. Thank you for having me along.
Ethan, and full disclosure, we had a little bit of technical problems just before, but hopefully they're resolved now. And I'm really glad that you managed to accommodate us at last minute as well. So thank you very much for that. So Sue Ryder, bit of experience from me was in my previous job supporting young people into volunteering, and there was a few young people that came not only for placements, but I'm aware that you did some summer events that needed support as well, which they really enjoyed as well. So that was good. And with I guess we all know sort of Sue Ryder from the building point of view and possibly the shop point of view, but perhaps you can expand it to all what they deliver throughout the country.
So it's quite interesting you touched on the charity shops. That is the one thing when we go out in the community that we get told about is people know us from our charity shops. So that's quite a common thing. I'm going to start taking it back years and years and years ago with the person that we get our name from, Lady Ryder. She worked as a British spy during the war, and she was in Poland in the aftermath after the liberation of Poland. And it's said, and I don't know the validity of this fact, so please don't hold me to it. It's said that she was one of the first women to visit Auschwitz after it was liberated. And that started her lifelong goal to do what you can for the person in front of you. And that's what Sue Ryder, the organisation, took on as our motto.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all about is ignore what else is going on. It's what that person in front of you, that patient, that person you're looking after, what their needs are. And taking that to today is Sue Ryder, the organisation, and Sue Ryder St John's Hospice in Moggerhanger provides life-limiting care for people with life-limiting conditions across Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire. That can range from pain symptom management, where people come in for short-term stays and get their symptoms under control so they can continue to live the best quality of life outside of the hospice. And about half of our patients come in for that service. And then there is also the side where people come in for their final days and weeks, and we make sure they have the best quality of life. Their friends and family can come and visit them under normal times, and that we accommodate requests. And taking that into a story, there's a lovely story of a young mother was staying with one of our other sister hospices up north, and her son had just completed his GCSEs. And I'm sure the young people listening will know that there's one golden rule: is you can't get your GCSE results any earlier than results day. No matter if you're on holiday or whatever your excuses are, you can't get your results. Our nurses are nothing if they're not persuasive, as I can testify for. And they went to the head teacher and they got him to release the results early so that the mother could see them and open them with her son. Luckily, he did really well in the exam as well. So a nice story all round. And that really sums up what Sue Ryder as a care provider is about. But we also have lots of other strands of that. So we go into people's homes and provide care, which ties into the fact that I think every 4.5 minutes, someone in England and Wales dies without the care they need, and also meets our goal to provide more care for more people and enable them to live at home where they want to be. Mm-hmm. We provide families with emotional and logistical support, so that can be put into place, ensuring that the children are looked after if their parents are suffering from a condition. Mm-hmm. And we also have our countrywide service of our online bereavement support scheme, which is particularly vital at the moment, because we saw an 83% increase in demand during the last 3 weeks, which just shows how much we are there to care for people across the country.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about other care institutions out there, and you occasionally hear on the news failures to deliver a good service of care, but I never hear that about Sue Ryder. Why do you think that sets you aside from what maybe other providers perhaps don't provide? Yeah.
I think one of the things, and that's actually a really nice thing that leads me on to talk about the fact that we were awarded the outstanding rating by the Care Quality Commission that regulates all care providers in England and Wales. I think what it is the fact that we go that extra mile. And I can't talk about the in-depth clinical aspects of why we're a good care provider. I'm sure we are, and I know we are through that rating. But it's about going that extra mile and listening to people. I think that's a core aspect and ties into that person-centered care. It's not, this is what the rules say, this is what we're going to do, this is your care package. It's what can we do to make sure that you have the best quality of life. And I think that really makes a distinction, especially when people are in their final days. And reading that report that gave us that outstanding, one of the things that really appealed to me was they were talking about food and the hidden services, like the domestics and the kitchen team. And it goes back to something that someone once told me, is one of the things that makes you feel most at home is the food that you eat. So if you have been used, especially when it's different cultures, there's no point serving you fish and chips if what you really want is curry. And I found that really impactful, is little things like that can make the really big difference.
That's something that I can attest to as well with the virus at the moment. That is something that I do to feel good about myself, and there's some jokes going around about, the coronavirus stone, the weight being put on. But I think there's an inclination to, like, in the absence of all these things that we used to do for ourselves to make ourselves feel good, I think there's some strong connections with the food that we eat and the treats that we give ourselves as well. Although not necessarily healthy, are pleasant and something to kind of bring us up a bit as well.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I also like the idea of the sort of holistic approach. You gave the example of the young boy with his exams, and it's not just that you're sort of treating the individual. There's a sort of what do you call it, a raindrop effect of, like, other people being affected as well, and being able to support them too. Sounds like what you mentioned about the extra mile.
Yes, so that is core to our service. Is we have the patient that is suffering from the condition, but we take care of that whole support network. So during normal times, and at the moment, sadly, to safeguard staff and patients, we have to limit who can come into the hospice. But in normal times, we're open 24 hours a day, so there's no visiting times as you'd experience in a hospital. Loved ones can sleep in the same room as the people who are being cared for. You can bring your pets in. It's about making it your home in those final days. But you can never replace the place that you live. That is granted, but we can be the best alternative for those who do come to stay with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a strong ethos. And if you say a little bit about your role, when I checked your last email, I noticed it said trainee fundraiser, and you seem like someone who's very knowledgeable. Like, how are you still a trainee?
Thank you very much. That's really lovely to hear. So I was very lucky. I applied for a community fundraiser job at Ryder, and I actually came straight from sixth form. I've never been particularly academic, but I've had a passion for working with people. It started right back when I was 15, and I took a job at my local library, which I've been volunteering at for years. And what my boss identified was there was a passion. I just needed to refine my skills. And I actually am coming to the end of my trainee year. And it's been absolutely amazing to work with such amazing people. It's been a bit of a roller coaster the last half of the year with coronavirus and things like that. But it's been absolutely amazing to witness the work of Sue Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
And expand a bit more of what the fundraiser job is. So I work as a trainee community fundraiser, which means I get the pleasure of meeting organisations, individuals in the Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire area and help them support us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about connecting with people and going, you want to help us, what can I do to help you achieve that? Is what resources do you need? You need to come along and talk to your group and help them understand what we do. And that all goes into the fact that we're a charity, and we are lucky we get some government funding, but only 30% of our income is from the government. Therefore, that's 70% of the money that we need to provide this expert care is fundraised for our charity shops and fundraising events.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm sure people will have seen on the news, things like London Marathon have been cancelled, those charity shops have been closed. Therefore, over the last little while, it has been as simple as, can we continue to be there for the people of Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire? And it sounds really horrible, but that it was that simple. Is we need to find ways to recoup this lost income, or we won't be able to keep the doors open.
Yeah, and I think a lot of charities in Bedfordshire and across the country are facing that as well. I'm more aware of the Bedfordshire ones, and for the first time, people are consideration. Can we carry on? But to kind of go into one of your points about, you say, interesting hearing about your background, and about maybe not being so academically inclined. But I see that as like a scale. Like, if you're really academically inclined, you're probably not terribly creative, and I think the creativity is what sounds like that job needs, and particularly with their young people that are going to be talking about their social action projects and needing to find out what their ideas are, talk with you and try to figure out where the middle ground is.
So there's definitely, creativity is key, especially at the moment during coronavirus. Everyone is working in different ways, and it had to happen really quickly. And fundraising in the charity sector is no different. Fundraising was commonly very in person, whether that be bucket collections or holding a fundraising event. It all required people to meet in person, and overnight we had to adapt and find new ways of working. So, for example, on London Marathon Day, there was the famous 2.6 challenge, where people took on challenges individually in the comfort of their own home and united through that digital platform. And I think it's amazing how different people have harnessed technology to do good. So that's definitely encouraging, and there's definitely scope to work with technology and creative ways of working.
Yeah, and with the assumption that young people are quite a lot more adept at those, going forward, the NCS and the digital sort of platform that it's probably going to go into would be, I imagine, a lot of young people behind their devices being able to deliver social action despite some of the social distancing concerns. And I was thinking, I was just thinking about some ideas really popped into my head about social action, and being able to sort of tell the community very much about what it is that you do, raising awareness of what you do. And I also thought of like the story that you gave of Sue Ryder herself, and the, I'm going to say, not entirely 100% certain that it's true, but it probably is. But wouldn't it be a nice project for young people to like do a profile on that and do some sort of project based around her and about her motivations to do the charity? Is she still around at all?
No, so I believe 2000 was when she died, but both her and her husband were very keen in the charity world. So her husband was Leonard Cheshire, who also started a charity.
Oh, I know that one, yeah.
But
they were married.
They were married, so yes, they were married for a long time, and he was in the Air Force. But her legacy lives on, and it's actually quite an interesting one. Is lots of fundraising surrounds people leaving gifts in wills, and I find it an amazing way to talk about that. And when people come to us and talk about gifts in wills, is Sue Ryder's legacy. What can my legacy be? Whether that be a gift in a will or doing something like a fundraising project or a social action project. If someone can leave a whole organisation that cares for people as their legacy, what can my actions and my legacy be?
For sure. Yeah, legacy is a huge thing about the NCS as well. And, I can't let you go without talking a little bit about your experience of the NCS. In terms of legacy, being able to be an NCS graduate who went, who sounds like you did volunteering and built up your skills to the point where you've got a job as well. I mean, how was your NCS experience?
So it was very interesting. It's a great program for building those connections and meeting new people and trying new things. I think that's the one thing that scares young people, is not being able or not having the confidence to try things and go out there and build up those skills. And I think that's one thing, it almost forces you into doing it. And that's a very strong word, but I think it is nice to almost have that backing, that push, and have that added confidence from those around you, and being as part of a group. Is let's try these new things. Let's reach out to organisations that maybe you wouldn't have heard of or wouldn't have thought about helping, or maybe wouldn't even known how to help. And that's what I find really interesting about NCS, is it's that added help and that added step and that added push that helps young people get out there and, as I said, help leave a legacy of their own.
What thing did you gain as a result of the push?
I think it's that confidence. Being a fundraiser, and I've always had sort of a fundraiser's personality. People think you're really confident, but that's one thing I always lacked. Is I could talk as if I've got confidence, but in myself I didn't. And I think that's one thing, is it shows actually, yes, you can do these things. Yes, you can make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's something that we do quite often see. And, there's always those young people that have got like big personalities, but they're still challenged in other ways on the programme as well, in terms of skills perhaps, or networking, or realising their potential, I think, in some ways as well. So, yeah, it's nice to hear that. Thank you. Just going to wrap up now. And in terms of how young people can get in contact with you, are you happy for your own work email and your own mobile number, or what would you prefer?
Yeah, so I'll give my own details, work mobile and work email address out. And as I'm sure people can appreciate, there's different ways of working at the moment. So even if it wasn't always me that picked up that email or that phone call, one of my colleagues can get it through me, and there'll always be someone from the St John's team based at local hospice to support young people.
Great. I'll be sure to put those in the script of the podcast episode as well, that will go up on YouTube. We're looking at probably within the next 4 weeks would be,
Cool.
There's a little bit of backlog because we're really shooting through them, I'm proud to say. As a matter of fact, I've got Leonard Cheshire next week as well. So
oh, really?
Connective tissue between the two of you. So really pleased about that. Well, thank you very much, very, very much, I will say, for your patience with the technical stuff, and also for coming on the episode. And my hope is that we'll be able to see each other in person next year for the NCS.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.